Alright, welcome back guys, or welcome if this is your first time here. I'm Vision here at Blind Entertainment, bringing you guys another video thing. We're doing a quick Season 1 recap of Season 1 of the 100. Now, if the 100 is something you're interested in, something you want to know my thoughts on, see my reviews, hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon that way you don't miss any future episodes or videos I do on the 100 moving forward. Now, let's begin. Now, if you never heard of the 100, the main premise is it takes place 97 years after a nuclear apocalypse happened on Earth, and now the Earth is uninhabitable, and human life is all living in space on this giant space station called the Ark. Now, on the Ark, there are rules and laws to keep everybody safe and survive. And one of the big rules is that any crime is punishable by death of an adult. So if you commit a crime, you're pretty much locked in the air duct and shot into space and killed. But all the juvenile delinquents are kept in prison until they turn 18. And then once they turn 18, they go in for review to decide whether they are allowed to reassimilate into the regular, society, or if they are sentenced to death. However, one of our main characters' fathers found out that the Ark is dying and they won't be able to survive there much longer, so the government decides to send 100 of the juvenile delinquents down to Earth to see if the ground is survivable again, and that's pretty much where we pick up with our group when the Season 1 premieres. So our main lead and hero protagonist is Clark Griffin. She is the daughter of the man who figured out that the Ark was dying, and she was sentenced to prison due to the fact that her father tried to warn the people that the Ark was dying, and she was in prison for aiding and abetting her father, and he was killed for treason due to him wanting to warn the people. So she's sent down to the ground with the rest of these 99 criminals, and they end up landing on the opposite side of where they're supposed to land. They're supposed to land in Mount Weather, which is this military base that has all this food, supplies, and stuff. But however, they end up landing on the opposite side of where they're supposed to land, and they have to figure out a way to get there and cross this forest that's drenched in radiation over these past 97 years. So these two guys, Monty and Jasper, this one guy named Finn, and Octavia, end up going through this radio-infected forest, and they end up getting to Mount Weather. However, once they get there, Jasper ends up getting speared and presumably at first killed by people who end up having survived and are living on the ground, and they find out that what they originally had thought about the ground isn't true, and that there are actually survivors living on the ground. Meanwhile, back at the camp, Bellamy, who wasn't with the 100 but made it down to the ground because he made a deal with someone on the Ark to shoot the Chancellor, who is the main guy in charge, and by shooting the Chancellor, he got a spot on a dropship to protect his sister. Him and this delinquent Murphy end up taking control of the camp and bullying this one guy, Wells, and kind of harassing him because he's the son of the Chancellor, and no one really likes him because, he's the son of the Chancellor. The Chancellor is the one who is responsible for sending them all to the ground, so everybody hates him. But they end up taking control of the camp, and they end up having most of the delinquents take off their wristbands because the wristbands are transmitting their vitals up to the Ark, and the people on the Ark are monitoring them. And when they think that they have taken off their wristbands, they think that they have all died and that the Earth is uninhabitable, and it'll make so that the Ark people don't fall them to the ground and join them. And Bellamy's just doing that so he can kind of survive in a way. He doesn't want everybody else to find out what he did, that he tried to kill the Chancellor, and that's his main kind of story. Clark and the rest return later, and they end up implementing kind of like a search party, rescue party to go get Jasper back. They end up getting Jasper back, who somehow survived getting speared. That still doesn't make any sense to me, but that's beside the point. Once they come back, everybody kind of celebrates. They have food because they got attacked by this kind of jaguar, panther kind of creature, and they end up killing it. But so they have food, they bring it back, everybody's celebrating. However, one of the delinquents, this little kid named Charlotte, who lost both her parents due to Jaha, ends up killing Wells out of revenge for what his father did to her parents. And however, everybody thinks it's Murphy because he's one of the criminals who has a murder record, and everybody turns on Murphy and tries to kill him. However, everybody soon finds out that Charlotte killed her, and then Murphy implements like a witch hunt to go find Charlotte, who has run away with Clark and this other delinquent named Finn, and they are trying to help and rescue her. However, Murphy finds them, and out of guilt, Charlotte commits suicide and jumps off a cliff, and Bellamy banishes Murphy to the wilderness to survive due to what he had done to Charlotte. And everybody kind of then begins to follow Clark and Bellamy's lead. From that point on, they're kind of looked at as the main two leaders of this group of survivors underground. Then we got Octavia, who's got her own little side story going on. Like I said, she's the sister of Bellamy, and she's in prison due to the fact that on the Ark, like I said, they had harsh rules, and parents are only allowed to have one child. And her mom had her and Bellamy, so due to the fact that she had two kids, she ended up being floated, and Octavia was put in prison due to being born. So she's got her own kind of separate side story going on. The first few episodes of Octavia, there wasn't much going on. She just kind of was bouncing from guy to guy. That didn't really do much for me. I don't understand why she was bouncing from guy to guy. You'd think someone who was locked away, hidden from people due to the fact that she was due to the fact that she was an illegal child. She was hidden from the government for most of her life, living under the floor on the Ark. And you'd think that a person like that wouldn't be so running to people and wanting to find love so quickly. You'd think they'd be a little bit more guarded and more sheltered. That's the one thing I didn't really understand with Octavia. But she's kind of got her own little side story going on there. She's bouncing between guy to guy the first couple of episodes. Don't really care for that stuff. And she ends up getting into a fight with Bellamy in one of the episodes and ends up running off and ends up being found by one of the native people who end up rescuing her and kind of healing her back to health. And then Bellamy soon finds out that she's missing and implements a search party for her. And they end up finding her with the native person. And Bellamy and his posse group of people capture the native and bring him back to interrogate him. And they interrogate him. And we learn that this native person is able to speak English. We learn his name is Lincoln. And Bellamy was trying to torture him to find out information from him. However, he and Octavia end up falling in love. And she ends up freeing him, and he ends up escaping. Meanwhile, back on the Ark, Abby, Clark's mother, has one of her friends, Raven, take a space pod down to Earth to check on the 100 since they can't find their vitals and think they're all dying, to make sure that the Earth is indeed habitable again. So they send down Raven. Bellamy sees Raven's ship, and he ends up going out there and destroying her radio on the drop ship. That way she can't radio back to them and inform them that Earth is habitable and survivable. And meanwhile, back in the Ark, since they never got the signal from Raven, they implement this project to sacrifice 320 people to make room for other survivors, because the oxygen levels are lowering. People are having a hard time surviving up there, and they are unable to find Raven's signal. Even though they end up shooting up flares to signal to the Ark, however, the flares don't arrive until after they sacrifice the 320 people. And they do end up making contact with the Ark after the fact, and that after that the Ark begins implementing Project Exodus, which is the plan to have all the survivors of the Ark return to Earth in dropships similar to the dropship that the 100 arrived on Earth in. Meanwhile, back in the ground, Clark and the rest of the 100 try to find peace with the Grounders, and they meet up with one of the Grounder chiefs, Anya, and they try to find and formulate a peace treaty with her. However, she's mad at them because one of the flares they shot off, when it came down, ended up burning one of the Grounder villages and killing people. So they're not happy with them for that, and they still want revenge. During that meeting also, Jasper ends up killing innocent people who he presumed were going to kill Clark, which leads them into an all-out war pretty much that's coming for the 100. Meanwhile, back up in space, the former Chancellor Diana Sidney implements a coup and takes one of the drop ships for her and her people, because she represents the working class people, and we learn that there's not enough drop ships to take everybody down to Earth, so she ends up stealing and hijacking one of the drop ships to get the workers down to Earth. However, their drop ship explodes and they all die, and when they left the Ark, it left the Ark crippled, and pretty much everybody left to die on the Ark due to the fact that when they separated, it kind of crippled all the Ark systems, and everything that was keeping everybody surviving on the Ark was destroyed when the dropship launched. Meanwhile, back on the ground, Murphy has returned to camp, sick. He had been captured by the Grounders, and they got him sick and had him return to camp as a form of warfare where they return him sick so he would get the rest of the camp sick, and that when the Grounders attacked, they'd be too weak to fight back. However, he ends up recovering and implements his own kind of revenge on Bellamy for banishing him. And in the ensuing chaos, he ends up shooting and badly wounding Raven, who was ready to camp for an attack. They had kind of held off the Grounders with a bomb they had implemented at a bridge. That way they'd slow the Grounders' attack down. However, due to the attack, Finn and Quark were captured and made to help Anya heal some of her people. However, when they failed, they were sentenced to death. However, when the executioner came, it was revealed to be Lincoln, and he ends up saving them and bringing them back to camp, and they end up returning and warning the entire camp that the Grounders are coming, and that if they don't leave the camp, they will die. So the 100 decide to leave the camp. However, upon leaving, they soon realize that they're too late, and they end up engaging in a ruthless battle between the Grounders, and a lot of the 100 are killed in the process. Octavia's badly wounded. Lincoln shows up and talks Bellamy into having him let her take Octavia so he can heal her at his own camp kind of place, and in the ensuing chaos, a lot of people die. Quark is forced to leave a lot of people outside to die as they implement their kind of last-ditch attempt to save everybody. Meanwhile, back up on the Ark, Abby, Jaha, who had survived, and the second-in-command, Marcus Kane, had figured out a plan to return to Earth using the Ark as its own kind of drop ship. However, some people will not survive the return to Earth. They end up returning to Earth in the Ark, different components, but they can't launch with the remote, so Jaha sacrifices himself to stay behind and launch them manually, and they all return to Earth. While meanwhile, back on the ground, Quark ends up having to leave a lot of people outside, like I said, and they launch the dropship, sort of, and the fuel from it sets a lot of Grounders on fire, and everybody else who didn't die retreats. However, we don't know what happened to Bellamy and Finn because they are left outside to die due to them being under attack. They couldn't get them back inside in time. After the long battle is fought, Clark and the remainder of the people come out of the dropship where they were hiding during the attack, and once they come out, they are knocked out by a bunch of smoke bombs, and Clark ends up waking up in some kind of hospital, and meanwhile Abby and Kane, who had left in a dropship, end up having survived the return to Earth, and we see them return to Earth and radioing up to Jaha, who informs them that no one else had radioed into to let him know that they had made it down to ground. And we leave on a cliffhanger as Clark wakes up, like I said, in some kind of hospital place, not knowing where she is. She sees one of the fellow 100, Monty, who had gone missing earlier in the season, and we learn that both of them at least are in the same place, but we don't know where exactly they are, and that's where we leave off in season 1. Alright guys, that's my season 1 recap for season 1 of the 100. If you're a big fan of the 100 like I am, give this video a big thumbs up and share, and hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell icon, that way you don't miss any future videos having to do with the 100 moving forward. This has been Vision Hero Blind Entertainment, and I will see you next time.